The silence of space near Saturn's rings was broken by the soft hum of a patrol ship's engines. Commander Jack Miller watched the ice particles dance in the void, creating a mesmerizing display against the black canvas of space. His small vessel, the Scout 7, was running dark. Minimal power, passive scanners only. 3 years of war with the Dominion had taught humans to be cautious. He checked his instruments again. Everything looked normal, perhaps too normal. The war had made him paranoid, but that same paranoia had kept him alive while many others had fallen. The rings of Saturn had become a common hiding spot for both human and Dominion ships, the ice and rocks providing excellent cover for ambush tactics. The first warning came from a slight temperature change in the cabin. Jack noticed it before his instruments did. Another skill learned from countless hours in space. The heating system hadn't kicked in. This was external heat, the kind produced by cloaked ships moving through space. Well, he muttered to himself. Looks like we have company. Before he could react, 3 Dominion warships materialized around his small scout ship, their purple-tinted hull plates reflecting Saturn's distant light. They had arranged themselves in a perfect triangle formation, leaving no room for escape. The Dominion's infamous capture net, a web of energy that could disable any ship's engines, was already forming between the vessels. Jack's hand hovered over the emergency thrust controls. He could try to break through their formation, but the chances of success were minimal. Besides, that wasn't the plan. Still, he had to make it look good. He punched the thrust controls, sending his ship into a desperate dive. The Dominion ships reacted exactly as expected, tightening their formation. Their captured net pulsed with energy, reaching out to ensnare his vessel. Jack allowed himself a small smile as his ship's engines sputtered and died, caught in their trap. The radio crackled to life with the artificial voice of a Dominion translator. "Human vessel, you are now property of the Dominion. Resistance will result in immediate termination." Jack keyed his microphone, making sure to sound appropriately frightened. "This is Scout 7. I surrender. Please don't shoot." The largest Dominion ship extended its docking tube, a long skeletal structure that reminded Jack of a spider's leg reaching for its prey. His ship shuddered as the tube locked onto his airlock. The sound of mechanical clamps engaging echoed through his cabin. 4 Dominion soldiers entered his ship, their environmental suits making them look like tall, silvery insects. Their movements were precise and coordinated, showing years of training in zero-gravity combat. They found Jack with his hands raised, looking every bit the scared patrol pilot they expected to see. "Identify yourself," the lead soldier demanded through its translator. "Officer Jack Miller, Scout Division," he replied, making his voice shake slightly. "I'm just a patrol pilot. Please, I don't know anything important." The soldiers exchanged looks. Their faceplates were opaque, but Jack could imagine their satisfaction. They thought they had caught a low-ranking officer who could provide intelligence about Earth's patrol routes and defense positions. They had no idea who he really was. One of the soldiers approached with restraints, standard Dominion design, meant to suppress both physical and neural activity. Jack offered no resistance as they bound his hands and feet. They were thorough, professional, and completely unaware that everything was going according to plan. As they led him through the docking tube to their ship, Jack caught a glimpse of Saturn through a viewport. The giant planet's rings glittered silently, indifferent to the small drama playing out before them. Somewhere in those rings, a cloaked human vessel was recording everything, transmitting data back to Earth Command through quantum channels the Dominion couldn't detect. The Dominion soldiers secured him in their brig, a sterile white room with neural dampening fields built into the walls. They thought these fields would keep him docile and prevent any escape attempts. In reality, they were giving him exactly what he needed: direct access to their shipboard systems through their own neural suppression technology. "You'll be questioned soon," one of the soldiers informed him. "Cooperate, and you may survive." Jack lowered his head, playing the part of the defeated prisoner. The real interrogation would begin soon, and with it, the true mission. The Dominion was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humans, but by then, it would be far too late. Agent Gray stood before the control panel of the Dominion's most advanced interrogation chamber, their long fingers moving across the glowing displays with practiced precision. The room behind the observation window was a marvel of alien engineering, every surface designed to amplify psychic energies and break down mental barriers. The agent's dark eyes reflected the blue glow of the monitors as they reviewed the prisoner's initial scan results. Humans were such simple creatures, their brains practically prehistoric compared to the evolved races of the galaxy. This interrogation would be routine, another success to add to their perfect record. "Status report," a deep voice commanded. Director Stone, the facility's commander, had entered the control room. "The humans' neural patterns are unusual," Agent Gray reported, their translator converting the complex harmonics of their native language into basic human speech for practice. "But nothing we haven't handled before. The chamber is ready." Director Stone moved closer to the window, studying the empty interrogation chair at the center of the room. Its metal surface was etched with complex patterns that could channel psychic energy directly into a prisoner's mind. The Dominion had broken 18 different species with this technology. Humans would be the 19th. "This one is just a patrol pilot," Director Stone said, reviewing the capture report. "Why bring him to our primary facility?" Agent Gray's mouthparts twisted in what passed for a smile in their species. "My scans detected something interesting. His neural patterns show signs of advanced training. He might know more than a simple pilot should." The doors slid open, and 2 guards led Jack Miller into the chamber. The human showed no sign of fear as they secured him to the chair. That was unusual. Most species at least trembled when they saw the equipment. "Comfortable?" Agent Gray asked through the room's speakers, testing the translation system. Jack looked directly at the observation window and smiled. "The chair's a bit stiff, but I've had worse." Agent Gray felt a twinge of irritation at the human's casual demeanor. Most prisoners were either terrified or defiantly silent by this point. This one was acting like he was at a social gathering. "You know why you're here," Agent Gray continued, following standard protocol. "Cooperate, and this will be painless. Resist, and you will suffer. Mind if I ask a question first?" Jack's voice was surprisingly steady. "Those patterns on the chair, they're quantum resonance amplifiers, right? Fascinating design." The control room fell silent. Director Stone leaned forward, dark eyes narrowing. "How does a patrol pilot know about quantum resonance technology?" Agent Gray's fingers flew across the control panel, initiating deeper scans. The human's knowledge of their technology was troubling, but it didn't matter. Once the psychic probes activated, they would tear every secret from his mind. "Beginning primary sequence," Agent Gray announced, pushing aside their unease. The chamber hummed to life, the patterns on the chair beginning to glow with a soft purple light. "Last chance to cooperate willingly, human." Jack closed his eyes, his smile never wavering. "You know, we have a saying on Earth, don't dish out what you can't take back." Agent Gray ignored the cryptic response and activated the first probe. The chamber filled with psychic energy, focused entirely on breaking into the human's mind. The monitors showed the expected spike in neural activity, but something was wrong. The patterns were all wrong. "Interesting approach," Jack commented, as casual as ever. "But you might want to check your feedback loops." Director Stone grabbed the microphone. "What is he talking about?" Agent Gray, report. But Agent Gray was staring at their displays in growing horror. The psychic energy wasn't penetrating the human's mind as it should. Instead, it seemed to be reflecting. That was impossible. No species had ever. "Full power," Agent Gray ordered, pride overriding caution. "Break through his defenses." The chamber blazed with purple light as they poured more power into the systems. Jack's smile widened slightly, and for just a moment, Agent Gray thought they saw something in those human eyes. Not fear, not pain, but satisfaction. That's when the first alarm started blaring, and Agent Gray realized they had made a terrible mistake. They hadn't trapped a simple pilot. They had welcomed a predator into their most secure facility, and they had just given him exactly what he wanted: a direct connection to their systems through their own psychic technology. The interrogation was about to take a very unexpected turn. The alarms stopped as suddenly as they had started. Agent Gray's fingers moved frantically across the control panel, running diagnostic after diagnostic. Nothing seemed physically wrong with the systems, but the readings made no sense. "Report," Director Stone demanded, their translator barely keeping up with their agitated speech. "What just happened?" "Unknown, Director." Agent Gray's professional calm was cracking. "The psychic probes are functioning." But they trailed off, staring at the monitors in disbelief. Inside the chamber, Jack sat perfectly still, eyes closed, breathing steady. The chair's purple glow pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, except that wasn't supposed to happen. The system was meant to impose its rhythm on the prisoner, not the other way around. "Shall we try something else?" Jack asked, opening his eyes. "These surface scans are getting a bit boring." Agent Gray felt a cold sensation in their secondary spine. No prisoner had ever described the probes as boring before. They were designed to cause intense mental pressure, yet this human was talking about them like a mild inconvenience. "Increase power to maximum," Director Stone ordered. "Break through whatever resistance he's using." Agent Gray hesitated. "Director," the reading suggest. "Do it." The chamber's hum rose to a high-pitched whine as more power flooded the systems. The purple glow intensified until it was almost blinding. Jack's only reaction was to raise an eyebrow. "You know," he said conversationally, "human brains are really interesting things. All those millions of years of evolution. Fighting, surviving, adapting. Did you know we're the only species that dreams every night?" Agent Gray tried to ignore him, focusing on the readings. The psychic energy was definitely making contact with his mind, but instead of breaking through, it seemed to be dispersing. No, not dispersing, being redirected. "Dreams are like mental training simulations," Jack continued. "Every night, our brains practice dealing with threats, solving problems, exploring possibilities, countless scenarios, over and over, for hours at a time. Really builds up some interesting mental architecture." A new alert flashed on the control panel. The chamber's power consumption was rising far above normal levels, but the excess energy wasn't showing up in any of the expected places. "Agent Gray," Director Stone's voice had taken on a worried edge. "Why is he still talking?" "I don't." Agent Gray started, then froze as they noticed something impossible in the neural pattern displays. The psychic probes weren't just failing to read the human's mind. They were being pulled in, absorbed into patterns they couldn't begin to understand. Jack shifted slightly in the chair, looking almost comfortable now. "Want to know something really fascinating about human brains? We're the only known species that can run completely contradictory thoughts at the same time. Believe two opposing things at once. Dream while conscious. Think in circles that somehow still move forward." The chamber's lights flickered. Agent Gray's hands shook as they tried to reroute power, shut down the probes, anything to break the connection that was rapidly spinning out of control. "The thing about circles," Jack said, his voice taking on an odd resonance, "is that they don't have an end or a beginning. They just keep going, round and round, like your psychic probes are doing right now, caught in the endless loops of a human mind." Warning lights began flashing across every screen in the control room. The facility's main computer was detecting unauthorized access attempts from inside the interrogation chamber itself. "Shut it down," Director Stone screamed. "Shut it all down." Agent Gray slammed their hand on the emergency shutdown button. Nothing happened. The purple glow had spread from the chair to the walls, pulsing with Jack's heartbeat, following patterns that hurt their eyes to look at. "Too late," Jack said softly. "You tried to break into my mind, but all you did was give me a door into yours." And through yours. He smiled, opening his eyes, which now seemed to reflect the same purple glow. Into every system in this facility. The lights went out in the control room, plunging everything into darkness except for the bright purple glow from the chamber. When emergency power came on a few seconds later, all the displays showed the same message. Access granted. Agent Gray realized with growing horror that the interrogation was indeed over, but not the way they had planned. They hadn't been breaking into the human's mind. He had been breaking into theirs. Backup lights bathed the control room in a dim red glow, providing just enough light for Agent Gray to see the fear on Director Stone's face. Every display screen still showed the same message. Access granted. How? Director Stone whispered. How is he doing this? Before Agent Gray could respond, Jack's voice came through the speakers, clear and amused. You really should have done more research on human history before trying to break into our minds. The main display flickered and began showing images, scenes from Earth's history, wars, battles, conflicts spanning thousands of years. But it wasn't just the violence they were seeing. It was the strategy, the deception, the endless ways humans had learned to turn weakness into strength. See, we've been fighting ourselves since we could walk upright, Jack continued. Every possible kind of warfare, physical, mental, psychological, generation after generation, our minds evolved to handle conflict in ways you can't imagine. Agent Gray watched in growing horror as their own classified files began appearing on the screens. Files about the 18 other species they had broken. Files that should have been impossible to access from the interrogation chamber. Interesting techniques you've developed, Jack commented, flipping through their most secret protocols. Very organized, very logical, perfect for breaking into ordered minds that work in straight lines. He chuckled. But human minds, we don't work like that. Director Stone slammed their fist on the control panel. Security team to the interrogation chamber. Now. I wouldn't, Jack said calmly. Those neural dampeners you installed in the security team's helmets, I control them now. One wrong move, and they'll all take a nice long nap. Agent Gray's fingers moved across their personal console, trying to understand what was happening. The psychic probes were still active, still connected to Jack's mind, but the energy flow had reversed. Instead of extracting information, they were now acting as conduits, allowing his chaotic thought patterns to infiltrate their systems. Your mistake, Jack explained, as if reading their thoughts, was assuming that because our technology isn't as advanced as yours, our minds must be primitive too. But we've had something far more valuable than advanced tech. We've had practice. Millions of years of our brains adapting to handle every kind of mental stress imaginable. New alerts began flashing. The facility's quantum communication array was activating, sending out signals to somewhere. Stop this, Director Stone demanded. Whatever you're doing, stop it now. Why would I do that? Jack asked. You wanted to know what was in my mind. Now you're finding out. Every secret, every capability, every trick we've learned from eons of conflict. You want it in my head. His voice hardened. Welcome. Enjoy the chaos. Agent Gray suddenly understood what was happening. The human's mind wasn't just resisting their probes. It was weaponizing them, using the Dominion's own psychic technology to transmit not just data, but thought patterns that their systems were never designed to handle. Director, Agent Gray said quietly, I know what he is. What? He's not just a pilot. Look at how he's using our systems, how he understands our technology. Agent Gray's voice shook. He's Earth's head of special operations. Jack's laugh confirmed it. Took you long enough. Want to know the best part? Your psychic probes gave me everything I needed. A direct link to your entire defense network. Right now, Earth's forces are receiving the coordinates of every Dominion facility in the system. The main screen suddenly showed dozens of human warships appearing near key Dominion installations. The trap had been sprung, and they had walked right into it. You see, Jack said, his voice now carrying an edge of steel, humans don't just endure chaos. We thrive in it. We turn it into a weapon. And you just gave us the perfect delivery system." Director Stone turned to flee the control room, but the doors wouldn't respond. Every system in the facility was now under Jack's control, guided by a mind that had evolved to master chaos itself. The interrogation was over. The war's turning point had begun, and the Dominion was about to learn why trying to break into a human mind was the biggest mistake they could have made. Alarms blared throughout the Dominion facility as systems failed one after another. In the control room, Agent Gray watched helplessly as their most secure networks collapsed under the assault of a single human mind. "Fascinating." Jack's voice echoed through the speakers, still unnaturally calm. "Your entire defense network is built on the same principles as your psychic technology. Perfect order, perfect logic, perfect vulnerability." On the main screen, they could see Dominion ships across the solar system losing power, their crews trapped inside as life support switched to emergency backup. Human vessels emerged from hiding places in Saturn's rings, near Jupiter's moons, and even from inside the sun's corona, where they have been waiting for this moment. 3 years, Jack continued, his voice taking on a teacher's tone. 3 years we let you think you were winning. Let you grow confident, arrogant. Let you believe your technology made you invincible. Director Stone had collapsed into a chair, their normally imposing frame now hunched in defeat. "Why?" they managed to ask. "Why let us capture you?" "Because we needed a way in. Your psychic technology was impressive, but it had one fundamental flaw. It was designed by minds that could only think in straight lines. You never considered what would happen if you connected it to a mind that doesn't play by your rules." Through the observation window, they could see Jack still sitting in the interrogation chair, eyes closed, a slight smile on his face. The purple glow had spread throughout the entire chamber, pulsing with patterns that made Agent Gray's head hurt to look at. "Want to see something really interesting?" Jack asked. The main screen split into dozens of smaller displays, each showing a different Dominion facility. "Right now, I'm using your own network to transmit human thought patterns to every psychic system in your empire. How do you think your perfectly ordered machines will handle a bit of human chaos?" Agent Gray watched in horror as facility after facility reported critical system failures. The humans' corrupted thought patterns were spreading through their network like a virus, infecting every system they touched with unpredictable, illogical commands that their computers couldn't process. "Stop," Director Stone shouted. "You'll destroy everything." "No," Jack corrected them. "We're not destroying anything. We're teaching your systems a new way to think, breaking them free from the limitations you built into them. Just like you wanted to break into our minds, remember?" The facility shuddered as another system crashed. Emergency lights flickered as power redirected itself in ways it was never designed to flow. In the interrogation chamber, the patterns of purple light had begun forming impossible shapes, three-dimensional fractals that seemed to fold in on themselves endlessly. "Here's another interesting thing about human minds," Jack continued, his voice now echoing oddly through the failing speakers. "We can hold multiple opposing thoughts at once. Love and hate, hope and fear, order and chaos. Your systems, though, they can only handle one state at a time. So what happens when we make them try to process everything at once?" The answer came in a cascade of system failures. Across the solar system, Dominion ships and facilities began shutting down, their perfect order shattered by the introduction of human chaos. The elaborate trap had been sprung, and they had never seen it coming. "Agent Gray," Jack said, finally opening his eyes, which now swirled with the same purple energy that filled the chamber. "You wanted to know what was in a human mind. Well, now you do. How does it feel to experience true chaos?" Agent Gray couldn't answer. Their mind was overwhelmed trying to process what they were seeing. The impossible patterns, the conflicting data, the sheer unpredictability of it all. They had thought they were the interrogators, the ones in control. Instead, they had given a human direct access to their most vulnerable systems. Through the facility's remaining functional cameras, they could see Earth ships moving into position around every major Dominion installation. The war wasn't going to end in the careful, ordered way the Dominion had planned. It was going to end in chaos, guided by the very minds they had dismissed as primitive. The interrogation chamber's purple glow pulsed one final time, and the last of the Dominion's defenses fell. The turning point wasn't just complete. It had been inevitable from the moment they decided to try breaking into a human mind. They had started an interrogation. Instead, they had triggered their own downfall. The Dominion's high command gathered in their emergency bunker deep beneath the surface of Titan, Saturn's largest moon. The massive chamber, normally filled with the quiet hum of perfectly functioning technology, now crackled with malfunctioning systems and flickering lights. Supreme Commander Apex stood before the giant display screen, watching as more red dots appeared across the map, each one representing another fallen Dominion facility. Their most advanced battle computer had predicted a 99.9% chance of victory against Earth. Now that same computer was displaying human memes and cat videos. How? Apex demanded, their translator struggling to convey the mix of rage and disbelief in their voice. How did one human do this? The answer came not from any of their advisors, but from the screen itself. Jack Miller's face appeared, now sporting that same infuriating smile that had haunted Agent Gray's nightmares. "Would you like to know where you went wrong?" Jack asked, his image replacing the strategic display. "It's quite simple, really. You study our weapons, our ships, our technology, but you never bother to study us." Apex's advisors scrambled to cut the transmission, but their controls no longer responded. Like everything else in their empire, the systems now answered only to the chaos that had infected them. "Let me tell you a story," Jack continued. "Long before we reached the stars, humans had a game called chess. 2 players, perfect information, totally logical. We mastered it, taught computers to play it better than any human could. But then we created a new game, random chess. Same pieces, but random rules that changed unpredictably." The screen split, showing chess pieces moving in impossible patterns. Know what happened? The computers that could beat any human at regular chess, they failed completely at random chess. But humans, we adapted, we thrived. Because chaos isn't our weakness, it's our natural state. Apex slammed their fist on the control panel. "You are primitives. Your technology is centuries behind ours." "Technology?" Jack laughed. "That's exactly what I'm talking about. You saw our primitive technology and assumed our minds must be primitive too. Want to know what we really are?" The screen filled with images from Earth's history, cave paintings to space stations, spears to neural interfaces. We're the species that went from throwing rocks to splitting atoms in less than 10,000 years. We're the ones who turned our own chaotic nature into our greatest strength. The bunker's lights flickered again as another system fell to the spreading chaos. Through their neural links, the Dominion leaders could feel their perfect network crumbling, infected by thought patterns that defied their logical structures. "Your interrogation technology was impressive," Jack admitted. "Perfect for breaking into ordered minds, minds that think like yours. But human minds." He tapped his temple. "We're built different. Millions of years of evolution, of constant conflict, of adapting to chaos. You didn't break into my mind. You just gave me a door into yours." Apex watched in horror as classified files began appearing on every screen. The location of every Dominion fleet, every secret base, every hidden weapon. Their entire empire laid bare by one human mind. Want to know the best part? Jack's smile widened. This was just the test run. Right now, every human prisoner in every Dominion facility is connected to your network through your own psychic technology. And they're all about to wake up. Warning alerts flashed across the bunker as thousands of human minds suddenly became active across the network, each one introducing its own unique brand of chaos into the Dominion's perfectly ordered systems. "You wanted to know what was in our minds." Jack's voice took on an almost pitying tone. Now you know. Every dream, every nightmare, every impossible thought we've ever had. It's all flowing through your network now. Your perfect order is meeting human chaos. Care to guess which one will win? The screen went dark, leaving the Dominion leaders staring at their own reflections. In the distance, they could hear their mighty empire crumbling, wrought down not by superior technology or military might, but by the very chaos they had dismissed as primitive. The revelation was complete. They hadn't captured a simple pilot. They hadn't even captured a military commander. They had captured humanity's chaos itself, and they had given it the keys to their entire empire. 1 month after what became known as the Chaos Incident, the halls of the United Earth Defense Command buzzed with activity. Personnel hurried back and forth, carrying reports about the ongoing surrender of Dominion forces across the galaxy. On the main display wall, green lights continued to replace red ones as more alien facilities came under human control. Commander Jack Miller stood at the window of his office, watching Earth's cities glitter in the evening light. The neural implant at the base of his skull, the one that had allowed him to interface with the Dominion psychic technology, had been removed, but he could still sometimes feel phantom traces of that connection. "Sir," his aide announced from the doorway, "the final report from Operation Trojan Mind is ready." Jack turned from the window, settling into his chair as a holographic display sprang to life on his desk. The numbers were staggering. 94% of Dominion military assets captured intact, 99% of their command structure surrendered, 0 human casualties during the main operation. "And our guests?" he asked. "Agent Gray and Director Stone have requested another meeting," the aide reported. "They say they've finally begun to understand." Jack smiled. The 2 Dominion officers had become valuable allies in the peace process, their minds open to new possibilities after their exposure to human thought patterns. They were helping their people adapt to a galaxy where perfect order was no longer the only way of thinking. The door chimed, and Agent Gray entered. They looked different now, their formerly rigid posture more relaxed, their movements less mechanical. Exposure to human chaos had changed them, like it had changed their entire civilization. "Commander Miller," they said, their translator now capable of conveying subtle emotions, "the integration report you requested is complete. Would you like to hear something interesting?" "Always," Jack replied, gesturing to a chair. "The chaos patterns you introduced into our systems, they didn't destroy them as we feared. Instead, they evolved. Our computers are now operating at 300% higher efficiency, solving problems in ways we never imagined possible." Jack nodded. "Because they're no longer limited to single-line thinking. They can explore multiple possibilities simultaneously, just like a human mind." "Yes," Agent Gray agreed, their dark eyes showing a new kind of understanding. "We thought order was the highest form of evolution. We were wrong. Controlled chaos, balanced with order, that's true advancement." The office's display screen showed footage from across the former Dominion territory, ships with combined human-alien crews, stations running on hybrid systems that merged logical processing with chaotic innovation, new technologies emerging from the synthesis of both approaches. "The other races are adapting well," Agent Gray continued. "Many had grown tired of the Dominion's rigid control. They see humanity's victory not as a conquest, but as liberation." "That was the plan," Jack said quietly. "Not to destroy the Dominion, but to free it. To show you there was another way to think, to exist, to evolve." Agent Gray's mouthparts twisted in what Jack now recognized as their version of a smile. "By letting us capture you, by letting us try to break into your mind, it was brilliant and completely illogical. Perfectly human. The best plans usually are." Jack stood, walking back to the window. The stars were becoming visible as darkness fell. "Want to know the real secret of humanity's success? Please. We never tried to eliminate our chaos. We never tried to achieve perfect order. We learn to ride the chaos, to surf on the edge of order and disorder. That's where innovation lives. That's where evolution happens. Agent Gray joined him at the window. And now we're learning to do the same. The stars twinkled above them, some home to former Dominion worlds, others yet to be explored. But now they would be explored by a civilization that understood both order and chaos, logic and innovation, stability and change. The interrogation that was meant to break a human mind had instead broken down the barriers between two ways of thinking. The aftermath wasn't just peace, it was evolution for both humanity and the Dominion. And somewhere in the vast network that connected it all, traces of human chaos still danced through alien systems, teaching them new ways to think, new ways to grow, new ways to embrace the beautiful unpredictability of existence.